And they'll look like idiots, especially because they had the unemployment rate going up in 2010, so they had it dropping all the way down to 6 in the next 2 years. My God. I'm going to love to produce this graph. Mm-hmm. I'd like to get an article in the USA Today. I asked to do that. They sent me the data, but they did not respond to my request for a rebuttal. So, oh well, I've got the numbers. I'm going to mock Moody's. It's going to be fun.
We're talking to Mish Shedlock, his blog at globaleconomicanalysis.blogspot.com. And, of course, the Philly Fed is not the only place they're having fun these days. The St. Louis Fed has this great piece that you've talked about on your blog here, the social cost of transparency. This is this is insane.
I was laughing my head off writing this because I'm just reading this mathematical gibberish that I couldn't even understand. I don't know how anyone can understand this, actually. Actually, one person emailed me today. He could understand that, and I asked him, I said, just out of curiosity, how many people do you think? He goes, 1 in 500,000? He goes, probably not that. So let's just assume 1 in a million people could understand this mathematical gibberish out there. But it was talking about pricing at night and pricing in the day and pricing when there was no news, and the whole premise behind all of these mathematical formulas, pages and pages of mathematical formulas, and the conclusion was that it's better for the Fed to keep its secret. I mean, absolutely amazing. Of course, I said that I couldn't understand the math. I sent it to Steve Keen, economist out of Australia, very widely respected, widely known, and he sent me back a nice little quote. He said that he was under the gun. He didn't have a lot of time to look at it. He said, but one quick perusal of that article, and I could consign it to neoclassical gibberish.
No kidding.
He goes on to give me some more things they don't explain well over audio, so I'm going to write about this in my blog. I've got some math from someone who seems to understand math that can also challenge this thing from a mathematical standpoint, as I was sure that Steve Keen could too, had he had a little more time. And it's just amazing the lengths that they're going to. And today, I didn't have time to write about this one yet either, but Bernanke makes the case for the Fed keeping banking powers.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, sure. And his case was that the lack of information would hurt them. The lack of information. I started thinking about this. I said, well, if the Fed needs information from the Senate Banking Committee, why doesn't the Senate Banking Committee just give it to them?
Mm-hmm.
Why does the Fed need to have a decision-making process in that? Is that if Bernanke's point was that, I'm trying to find the quote here, but here it is. Elimination of the Federal Reserve's role in supervision would undermine the Federal Reserve's ability to obtain in a timely way and evaluate the information it needs.
Why don't we just eliminate the middleman here?
Why don't we just give the Fed destroy the information straight up? What does the role in supervision have to do with the role of being on the chain that receives the information?
Yeah. This is just Bernanke being good at what he does, which is obfuscating, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, all of these things add up. They just get my blood boiling, and my blood is really boiling tonight over other things.
Well, here's something to make it boil. We always like to keep an eye on what Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner is up to. He's one of our favorites. He said today the AIG bailout was not meant to help out bank counterparties. And with a straight face, he said he had no role in the decision not to disclose payments. He said AIG was legally obligated to make the payments. Thank you, Tim. Yeah.
Well, legally obligated.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think he should defend himself in a court of law. I'm all in favor of that. I would prefer tarring him and feathering him, actually. But after after he faces a court of law.
I guess the next thing is his testimony before the House Oversight Committee. That's coming up January 27th. Not exactly a court of law, but at least we're going to hear some more about what's going on.
It will be under oath, I believe.
We are talking to Mish Shedlock, his blog at globaleconomicanalysis.blogspot.com. Interesting story that we've been talking about all week, the Google story. They're pulling out of China, or at least they're talking about pulling out of China.
I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to pull the plug. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. But, for years, actually for the last decade, businesses have been clamoring to get into China, in a lot of ways selling their soul to China, who is taking their secrets, but business secrets, their models. China doesn't have patents, doesn't respect patents on intellectual property, so why anyone would want to bring their IP over there, I don't know. I'm sure Google didn't bring any of their IP over there, but they were trying to compete with Baidu. Is that how you pronounce that? The largest internet in China.
Oh, okay.
But Google was hacked, or an attempted hack. Actually, they got in, but they didn't get anything relevant. What China apparently was looking for was information supposedly on Chinese citizens who were involved in rights activity in China, human rights activity in China. And actually, just a week prior to that, I don't know if it's related or not, but my computer was under attack, and